Several star players across the league suffered season-ending injuries. Where do those teams go from here? How does it affect the trade deadline? We're going to explore that today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app.
Joe, happy Victory Tuesday to those who are celebrating. The Denver Broncos.
Two teams, Kyle.
Two teams.
Two. I got the math today.
Dude, the Dolphins game wrapped, and I obviously got to do the Dolphin Squad show. I got to do my short for Locked On.
Yeah.
So I tell my wife sitting on the couch, and I'm like, hey, I got to go up and go to work. She goes, is the other game still on? And you know how it has like the ticker up in the corner? Yeah. I looked up, I was like, yeah, there's 10 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter. Yeah. That first game went fast because there was like no possessions in the first half.
I was thinking right up against the end of the first half as Justin Fields tried to complete some forward passes there.
I was going to say, be nice.
I'm not going to be nice. I'm going to be honest about the player that I keep watching and can't execute the passing game. I was like, boy, this might have been the fastest first half of all time if we didn't have this 2-minute sequence right now. Yeah. It was been like an hour for the entire first half.
It was literally an hour, and I think 16 minutes was the first half.
Unbelievable. Yeah. God bless 7:15 primetime kicks. Boy, what a joy that was for us East Coast dads.
Not mad about it. As a guy who had to do an hour-long show, had to do some writing after the fact. I didn't even do my Club Dub episode. I'm going to do that when we're done here. Count my lucky stars. But
we'll take it.
There's a lot to get into from this game, in part because of the catastrophic knee injury that Tyreek Hill suffers on the first Dolphins possession of the second half. And this was a player that, people had questions about what the Dolphins were going to look like this year and if Tyreek Hill was going to be content to play out the season in Miami or if he was going to be a trade deadline guy. And I think there were a lot of teams that maybe had their eye on Tyreek Hill as a potential add. And it's been rumored for Kansas City for a long time. And obviously that is all now out the window. And the ripple effect of this, not just for the Dolphins individually as a team, but across the league as far as one thing that you have said as of late, wide receivers get traded.
Oh, they get traded.
There's somebody's probably going to get moved at some point because if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers and I smell the blood in the water in the AFC North with how the Ravens are playing right now, and I'm looking at who's opposite DK Metcalf with all the other moves you've made, why not? Go find somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting situation. I think after you get past the first 6 quarters of the Dolphins season, I think there's a lot of good that's happened since then. And there were times last night I thought I was watching the Dolphins. I'm watching Tua doing ball handling and flipping the ball behind his back. He's always been great with ball handling. I'm seeing him in motion, hitting throws on the run to his left, the deep shot to Waddle. It was like, oh, here it is. This is the team that the Dolphins are supposed to be. And obviously they win this game. I think the score at the end's probably a little closer than it ever felt based on a garbage touchdown there. Well, I mean, really a crazy good catch by Garrett Wilson. Let's call it what it is. It was a hell of a catch. But
I couldn't believe they zeroed him twice because
he had a case on the other one too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to play with fire here. I'm like,
jeez. Yeah.
Like we came back to it. And sure enough.
Right. So yeah, it's a Dolphins team that they're 1-3. There's
one game out of the playoffs, Joe.
Right. In the schedule, I mean, Carolina next, you get Saints and the Falcons. I mean, there's some opportunities to get some wins here. Obviously, without Tyreek Hill, that's more challenging. But I think that's kind of the state of the conference in some ways, where you have one undefeated team, and a lot of the teams that are supposed to be good aren't. Houston, Baltimore, the Bengals are going to have an uphill battle this year if they can get it together. Kansas City's 2-2. They might be fine, but I don't know. Feels kind of open. And obviously Tyreek Hill is not going to be traded. But I don't think the Dolphins, or really many teams right now, should feel like they're done through 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think it does set the stage for, like you said, a really compelling, the AFC, lots of teams with lots of questions. And I think for Miami individually, offensively, even without Tyreek Hill, here's what I would say. You're paying the quarterback a handsome sum of money. You're paying Jalen Waddle a handsome sum of money. Devon Achane has been one of the most dynamic dual threat backs in football. There's teams even without Tyreek Hill that have less than what the Dolphins have to work with.
Yeah.
Some of those young guys, we got to grow up, right? And Mike McDaniel, you got to get back to your roots. And I think in this offseason, I spent some time talking about if the Dolphins should trade Tyreek Hill and what that would do for the balance of the offense, right? Think about it's not the same situation, but the Stephon Diggs transition in Buffalo, right? Where it's, hey, we can just, we don't have to facilitate 12 targets to one player anymore if that's not how the game script works out. Right. And you want Jalen Waddle to be featured in that regard to some degree. But I think maybe some of the pull on Mike McDaniel as a play caller.
Yes.
I think can be really interesting to see if he leans into that the way that I think that he should without Tyreek Hill now in the picture.
Right. And and I think to your credit, that's not like, oh, Tyreek Hill is hurt, let me say these things. These are things that you've been saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an important distinction for us to make right there. And also, okay, Darren Waller.
Hey, how about that, huh? He's got twice as many touchdowns as Jonnu Smith this year.
I thought, what did Jonnu have, like 2 catches for 3 yards in the last game? But
he's got 71 yards in 4 games. I think he's averaging 7 yards a catch.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's got paid, so good.
Good
on him.
Yeah.
But okay. I mean, like the guy came in. I don't know how many snaps he played. I don't think that many, but 3 catches, 2 touchdowns. Like looked like vintage Darren Waller in this game.
Onside kick as well.
Oh yeah, right. I know you were feeling things at the end there.
I sent the tweet out. I said,
I saw it. I was like, Kyle, don't do
3.5 minutes left against a bad football team on Monday Night Football. Where have I seen this?
No, you encouraged me to stay awake. I was like, all right, I'm good here. I can move on with my night.
Oh, the Jets scored and got a 2-point conversion. Now it's a 6-point game. Oh boy.
Can't wait. I'm not missing
the
this.
Jets are going to get the ball back because we didn't. Oh boy.
I went to sleep on Will Levis a couple years ago, so I wasn't going to.
I was there that night. I was there.
You were physically there that night.
I was physically there that night.
Yeah.
Not a fun time.
Real quick on the Jets. I tweeted it last night. I texted it to you. Aaron Glenn's got a lot of work to do with this team, man. They don't have a lot going for them in terms of anything they do well. Their defense struggles. They can't really throw the football. Fields is a very limited football player. They're a stupid team. They make bad penalties. They had bad fumbles at the worst imaginable times. Fair catching the ball at the 2-yard line. I mean, it's just a team that is just really struggling to do the normal right things throughout the course of a football game.
I like Aaron Glenn. I like his demeanor. I like his confidence. I like his messaging. That product did not match. Every time I see Aaron Glenn in front of a podium, did not match the product that they had on. We're fair catching punts at the 2-yard line. And I understand you made a change on special teams because we had a fumble on a kickoff against the Steelers in week 1 and you cut the guy. And at the time I said, yeah, accountability. It's not a guy making millions of dollars. You make a mistake that costs you a game. You want to set a tone in that regard. I dig it. If the Jets were doing that from last night's game, they'd be cutting 10 guys today.
Yeah.
I said to you in the pre-show, when Michael Clemens is not amongst the top 5 players that have bonehead plays for your team, it's a flag. And I think that was the jarring thing for me, was just the 100+ yards in penalties.
The 13
how the penalties were happening.
Yeah.
It was rough for New York last night for sure.
It's game 4. They got a lot of work to do. I think as long as your expectations are that this is going to be a process, you can understand it. But Aaron Glenn certainly presents himself a certain way, and I'm curious when the football team will start to kind of take that on a little bit more.
Right.
All right, Tyreek Hill, not the only star receiver that suffered a season-ending injury. Malik Nabers as well. So we'll kind of really get into that and maybe some of the real trade implications as the deadline is November 4th after Week 9. So we'll do that here next, folks. Be sure to stick with us. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's why there's Mitson & Main. Mitson & Main makes classic menswear with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, moisture-wicking, wrinkle-resistant, and machine-washable. No ironing, no dry cleaning, and I love that you can go from the office to dinner or even out on the golf course and still feel comfortable all day. It's the feel of athletic wear, but the look of a professional menswear. Right now, Mitson & Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mitsonandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mitson, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-A-I-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mitson & Main stores in select states. Folks, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Check this out. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes football watching even more exciting when you got a little extra something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. I told you yesterday I had some cash on over 5.5 receptions for Garrett Wilson. And, well, it took a while, but we got there. And so it made that game more exciting for me to watch last night. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Right, real quick, rival reunies. You like him? You not like him?
Yeah, I did. I didn't love the Dolphins. I think when we ranked them, I had them 6th or 7th out of the 8.
Yeah.
I thought they looked pretty good last night. I thought you had a good critique in saying that, like, it feels a little darker than they need to be. Like, I think that blue would pop if they were like a little bit lighter colored. I think maybe that was one thing. And then I thought the matte helmets, I wanted more of a shiny, glossy finish watching them on TV. But I thought they looked a lot better in person than maybe from the photo shoots.
Yeah. And it's just kind of that. It's kind of similar to that navy that Houston has.
Yeah.
And I think it was the NFL fashion advice put the two navies up like side by side. And it's like, oh, yeah, like when you put it next to that one, I kind of see it. But like it's the gold and white versus black and blue dress debate. Like half the people I talk to see them as black. And they're like, these uniforms are black.
Yeah.
The other is like, no, they're blue. So
yeah, it's like that blue color is real. It's a real part of the normal kit. It's like, are we using that exact shade of blue is my question.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's where I get a little bit off. And if they were, I think it would look a little more blue.
Dark, deep waters is objective.
Well, so we can just a little bit deep.
Some teams in deep water at wide receiver. We mentioned Tyreek Hill, but also speaking of blue, big blue, the New York Giants, Malik Nabers confirmed. Can we please get some grass in this stadium?
Dude, how many players are going to go down at the MetLife turf, man? It's over and over and over and over again, man. It's crazy.
So that's a brutal development for the Giants with what you were hoping was going to unlock the passing game with in more than just 9 balls and big posts down the field with Russ versus Jackson Dart. And, obviously such a super talented player in Malik Nabers. That is an interesting team where we're going to talk about the trade market at wide receiver. Could you see the Giants buying a wide receiver? A cheap, like not an expensive one, but I think it's probably fair to ask where we kind of went through Miami and their skill group and what they have. The Giants, I like their tight end room. Their backs seem to be fine. We're on Cam Scatterbo watch all season long. But the wide receiver room with Wandale and Darius Robinson and Jalen Hyatt has not become a thing. They might behoove them to find a economic add. Now that's different from the other trade deadline conversation we're going to have about wide receivers, but it was just a thought that I had when I think about the composition of that room in New York.
Yeah, I think it's worth talking about, and I think that's a disappointing layer as you turn to Jackson Dart, and you certainly have visions of Jackson Dart throwing a lot of footballs to Malik Nabers for years to come. And well, we got not even a full game of it, right? So that's a disappointing development. Obviously, a big part of the supporting cast for Jackson Dart, and so I do think exploring trades would make sense for the Giants. I think they have to be careful though. And what makes me a little bit nervous is I thought the Thielen trade and the Deuce Vele trades were pretty significant for like the receivers at those players. So like has the market changed a little bit, or was that timing, or what went into that? But I would love for them to find the right type of player to add to the mix, just kind of stabilize things and make sure that they can spread the ball around like they want to and not make it really difficult on Jackson Dart. Yeah.
So let's talk the wide receiver market as a whole, where Tyreek Hill was the popular name. Have any of the names now that you kind of look at with the way that the team has started in the first 4 weeks and say, hey, maybe we're sellers in this regard? Because that was a big thing about Miami too, is if they weren't going to make front office and football operation changes before the deadline, those guys are coaching for jobs. Like that makes it even harder to trade a Tyreek Hill, hypothetically. Yeah. So whether that's a team with a first-year executive or a first-year head coach, like, is the life cycle with a team that hasn't started well, are there any names that stand out to you in that regard?
Well, I think about a few teams here, like the Saints. I think about the Tennessee Titans as two teams that I would be looking at as those that I think are being honest about maybe where things are headed. And you've got Calvin Ridley, you've got Tyler Lockett in Tennessee. With the Saints, I mean, they're all on expiring contracts, right? Cooks, Olave, and Shaheed are all on expiring contracts.
Those are two very different conversations, but great names to invoke, where for New Orleans, it might be a matter of what can we get the most for? Like that would be what I would entertain, right?
Yeah. Vegas, I mean, Jacoby Myers, I know they said no, but like, do you look at that situation? These feel like the types of, I mean, the Jets have anybody would want? Maybe Josh Reynolds.
You know who's still on that roster?
Allen Lazard.
You know who's we just said needs a wide receiver.
Yeah, I know. I just don't.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, it could.
Could you imagine?
I could.
I want to go to Chris Olave. Really good receiver when he's healthy. Has had pretty extensive concussion issues. New Orleans, not a team that's in a position to pay handsomely. That would be the most compelling name, I think, to see what kind of market is out there. For Tennessee, I think it's Calvin Ridley as a guy who's a back nine of their career type player who's struggled with drops. And you want to get they've got the young guys at wide receiver, right? They have both Ayumanor and DK as players that are promising, that I think are the body type guys that have a chance to really, I think, click with Cam Ward. I think Ridley's the most likely name that you invoked. I think that Olave's the most intriguing name from a team building perspective. What might the market be, while acknowledging that there's risk because of the durability with him?
Chris Olave has 26 catches so far this year. Do you know what his average yards per reception is?
I'm guessing it's low because I don't remember seeing Chris Olave on the receiving yards leaders thus far this season.
7.1.
Spencer Rattler will do that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're getting the ball out of his hands quick, for sure. But it's kind of crazy. I think they have one player on their team that is averaging more than 10 yards per catch, and it's Jack Stoll. Nope, because Jack's no. Now they don't have anybody because Jack Stoll caught a pass in the last game that took him under. Yeah, this is nuts, dude. You have You have Chris Olave at 7.1. You've got Brandon Cooks at 8.9. You have Rashid Shaheed at 9.7.
That's the most egregious one.
Yeah.
That's the most egregious one. So what I'm going to do right now, and I would recommend everybody doing it at home, go to nextgenstats.nfl.com and pull up the charts tab and put in Spencer Rattler. I want to see what the passing distribution looks like for where these targets are going downfield.
They're not going downfield, but we will explore that. We'll talk a little Nmadi Madubuike, maybe some defensive tackle movement here on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with us. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Reuniting Go Long. Confidence is exactly where Reuniting Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in 1 dual-action formula, and the effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. You'll get connected with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet, RUGIET.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use that promo code so that they know we sent you.
Bengals.
Yeah. Well,
they played a game last night.
They played a game last night.
I didn't see any of it.
There's not a whole lot to say about it. It was exactly what you would think. They couldn't move the ball, couldn't pass it, couldn't run it, couldn't pass protect. Bo Nix threw the ball well. The Broncos ran the ball well. I think Dobbins and Harvey had over 100 yards from scrimmage. Yeah, it's a signal of where this Bengals team is. They just don't have any redeeming functions to their football team without Joe Burrow. There's just nothing.
So want to run through.
They had 9 first downs, Kyle.
The Bengals
and 159 total yards.
The Bengals do have a category in which they are first in the NFL offensively. You know what it is?
I couldn't even imagine.
Percentage of drives ending in an offensive turnover.
No, that's
23.5%.
Well, yeah. So you're actually not leading the league. You're the worst in the league at that.
They have 13 points in 2 games. They have 5 turnovers offensively. They have 106 rushing yards the last 2 games. And they have not eclipsed 120 passing yards in either of the last 2 games. The defense gave up 512 to the Broncos. I'm just seeing all this now. 29 first downs.
Yeah, so they can't function, dude. Not a real team.
Joe, their next 3 games are against the Lions, the Packers, and the Steelers.
Yeah, 2-5 already.
Back half of the schedule at Pittsburgh, New England, at Baltimore. Baltimore's not playing well, but you get them twice on Thanksgiving and then November 14th.
It might be a little Buffalo. More healthy then. Yeah, at Buffalo.
You got the Browns defense again, week 18. Holy smokes, dude.
I mean, Joe Burrow's awesome. But the reality is this team just doesn't have it. And there's no redeeming qualities of this football team outside of Joe Burrow throwing the ball to Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase. Like, you have to have other things. They don't have it, dude.
And we've talked since the Burrow injury about how Joe Burrow likes to play. And I think my challenge, and if I'm the Bengals organizationally, I'm looking long and hard, and I'll do the analogy to Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, and then when the transition happened to Matt LaFleur. And Matt LaFleur came in, and they did some things a little differently that weren't like Aaron's original cup of tea. And what happened?
MVP twice in a row.
MVP, right? We added some new elements to the offense. That has to be, I think, a very prominent conversation for Cincinnati, because I don't think this team wins 2 more games this year. And it's tough to say, hey, Zach Taylor, like Joe Burrow goes down in the first month of the season, like we're going to hold that against you and make a coaching change. But that you have to figure that out. And we have a big enough body of work of Zach Taylor for me to feel pretty confident that I don't think he's going to provide the answers that they need.
Is the obvious but not so obvious path forward here is to reunite Joe Burrow with Joe Brady? If Joe Brady wants it. I mean, Joe Burrow's a heck of a draw. I think he probably hates everything else about it. He pulled himself out of some runnings last year that he didn't like the situation. But Joe Burrow, that's a game changer.
Yeah, I think that that's probably worth some consideration with Jamar Chase and that connection. And those are really the only two players on the roster that have long-term stability, right? Where like they did the Higgins contract, but there's like weird language in the Higgins contract as far as the guarantee structure that like.
If you can get a 1 for him, you got to take it, right? For Higgins?
Well, depends on who you're bringing in as a coach and what your plan is offensively. Because if you're going to just
you have to do it now in season. I think you do it now.
Oh.
Yeah, I think this is a player that we talk about. I mean, the Bengals don't trade anybody, so I'm not convinced anything will happen, but
they'd have to get a Godfather offer, right? Like,
yeah, a first-round pick would. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty significant, right?
Probably. Is there anyone out there on the stratosphere that you could see having that kind of interest? Tee Higgins?
I mean, it's week 4. I think that can open up, and we just. I don't. The Steelers they're not going to trade him to the Steelers, so that doesn't help. But
Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots wanted to give everything for receivers. Sure,
yeah,
they should think about that. Yes.
Okay, it's an interesting thought.
That'll take on a life of its own, obviously. But
well, let's stay in the AFC North and do a little bit on Nmadi Madubuike.
I love that player, man. He's good.
This has been on the wall for the last couple of weeks. Injured. The injury came up after the week 2 game, and then he didn't play week 3. Then he's put on IR, and Harbaugh's kind of been very delicate and strategic as far as how he's talked about this, which has given some not good vibes as far as like the outlook. It's been described and reported as a neck injury, and that's really all we know right now, like formally and concrete. But his season is over. Joe, I don't think the Ravens can do anything. I don't think the Ravens should do anything. When you look at the roster and all of the decisions that you have to make, if you're making a trade, realistically, what are you landing? What's the impact and what's the replaceability of a Nmadi Madubuike?
I mean, I think Madubuike's one of the special defensive tackles in the league. And I think it's hard to just isolate the Madubuike injury because I think there's a bigger injury conversation with Baltimore that cloudies a lot of the direction of the season, not to mention, what things have looked like to this point. And what's really difficult about that is, they've been close, obviously, with Lamar. They certainly have a team that you feel like can go do the whole thing, but it's hard to keep saying we'll get him next year, right? Because you never know when this type of thing can happen. I lived this world with the Bills where it's like, yeah, okay, they'll get right back to it. They'll have another chance. But it's like, okay, you just never know when this year can happen. And it's happening right now for Baltimore. So can you just say, all right, this is just a lost season due to injuries? Or do you try to, if Lamar's, don't you kind of look at it and say, if we have Lamar, we can do it, right? We can go win. And so I feel like, and I don't think that's a significant injury to Lamar, but and we talked early in this podcast about the state of the AFC and like, why can't the Dolphins think they're not in the mix, right? Or Baltimore should think that way. And I think you have to be careful to not go too crazy, but I don't know. I think you look at the same teams we just talked about, like call up the Titans, Jeffrey Simmons, like, what's up, dude? You want to come play? That'd be
here's my concern with that though. With all of the players that continue to need new contracts, are you going to make a move like that and give up draft capital? And there's a right place and a right time for teams to do this kind of stuff, right? But we got a whole bunch of guys that are expiring contracts that are good players that you drafted and have developed. You got to strategically pick the right ones to give the money to.
They already had those choices to make too, right?
Mm-hmm. And they've started that process, but that process isn't done yet.
Right.
Like there's more quality players. We've had a lot of praise for Travis Jones, the other defensive tackle, and he was out for the week 4 game as well against Kansas City. He's banged up right now, along with the rest of the defensive line for Baltimore. But are you going to send picks for a late stage Jeffrey Simmons on a mature contract and potentially have that have implications on somebody that you could sign that you drafted that's been here? And are you going to do it at 1-3 with what looks like a catastrophic defense? Like, I don't think that's as easy as, hey, just go find a guy and go get him. Like, I think there's big picture with where Baltimore's at, to your point about saying, oh, we'll get him next year. Well, like, you got to have some conversations about guys like Marlon Humphrey and the shelf life there, right? You got to have conversations. Roquan Smith looks bad right now.
Yeah. He did last year as well, I would say. And some, I kind of saw some of that happening last year.
So defensively, there's a lot of questions, and I don't know that just getting one player is going to solve their problems. And that's what I think makes it so unnerving to look at what the first month has looked like for Baltimore amidst the injuries and otherwise.
So the alternative, did I shoot big there? Are you a do nothing and figure it out with what you have? Is there a different path?
You're probably shooting a little big in that regard.
Do you call up the Saints and say, would you like to give us Nathan Shepard? Is that more the lines of what we should be considering? Is there another team that you look at right now that, I mean, obviously it'll take on a life of its own, but like, who's really selling right now?
Right.
The Jets just traded for Harrison Phillips.
And I don't think that's the kind of player you need anyway. You need that disruptive penetration style player. And they've got Aeneas Peebles, who I liked out of Virginia Tech, but like
brother, we're learning things about rookie D tackles, and you and I know it.
Right. It's a great class, and a lot of these guys are in the spotlight right now.
Right. It's a little different ball game up here in the big leagues.
I think a name like Shepard's probably the right kind of move. Because, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons has a $17.5 million base salary still this year. Like, they didn't – it's not like they paid him an option bonus up front in Tennessee and he's playing the rest of the year on minimum salary that you could get a guy like that. What was Amari Cooper's cap hit to the Bills last year when the Bills traded him because of how the Browns –
peanuts. Contract. Maybe $1 million, maybe.
Right. So it's not like that kind of situation for that contract. There's significant fallout from a move of that nature that I just think that's too big for where Baltimore is at from a roster perspective.
If I'm Baltimore, this is my mindset. If Lamar Jackson's healthy, I feel like I have a chance to go win the whole thing. And the opportunities are not something you can take for granted. And yeah, maybe Simmons is shooting for the moon, but I'd want to be as mindful as I can towards the future, but also like right now, we're entering week 5 and we have Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. So some really interesting dynamics across the league. What do we got tomorrow on the show? Remind me. Remind everybody.
Talking rookies.
Rookie quarterly report card. Be fun. We'll talk defensive tackles there too.
Yeah.
Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys checking out Locked On NFL Scouting. We hope you will come back and see us again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we will talk to you all again soon.